The Diddy trial is going on, and we've gotten through 3 witnesses so far, and it doesn't look too good for the prosecution, in my opinion. Y'all got to let me know what you are thinking about the Diddy trial. So we have had the security guard that was at the Intercontinental testify. We've had a male escort testify, probably the person they wanted it to get dismissed for, as far as Diddy thinking that the prosecution was just bringing this against him because he was dealing with male escorts. Diddy, I don't think that's the reason. And we also have Cassie on the bench. Cassie has been testifying for the last 3 days. So we are going to go over what has been happening in the Diddy trial. I know we have been covering Reddit stories lately, but we are getting back into the law stuff. And I'm trying to come up with a schedule of how I'm going to be doing this YouTube streaming thing with my job and the commute that comes with my job. But you know what? It's all good. We'll figure it out. Today, we are talking about Diddy and his trial, which I haven't really seen a lot of people talking about Diddy. So if you guys are watching live, let me know what your thoughts are on the trial so far. If you're watching on the replay, definitely let me know in the comment section what you think about the trial so far. So I wanted to kind of do a brief recap of what has happened since this has started. I have the jury questions. I made a video on it. I haven't posted it yet. It's more of a short. So they went through the jury selection. It took about 5 days to get through jury selection. They got their jury. It's down packed. They then chose, but who's on the jury is what's going to be interesting for this trial. We know it's a federal criminal trial, so we know that we need a unanimous vote in order to get Diddy convicted. Everyone has to agree that Diddy did these things beyond a reasonable doubt. So we got a jury selected. We have 8 men on the jury, and we're talking about sex crimes. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but we're saying it anyway. We're talking about those kind of crimes mostly, right? There's just a racketeering charge, and then everything else is sex crimes. And there's 8 men on the jury, which makes me very, very concerned. And then there's 4 women on the jury. They span from ages 28 to 74, I think. So it's a wide range of an age group of who's selected on the jury. But we have to remember what Diddy is actually being charged with. Like I said, racketeering and then other sex crimes. So we have racketeering, we have transporting victim 1 across state lines to engage in sexual activity. We have transporting victim 2 to do the same thing. And then we have doing prostitution, essentially. And so what like I said, have a concern about is whether we're going to be able to get all 12 jurors on the same place to find Diddy as guilty. And now what I would say, as far as what I've been able to cover between regular life, working, and then keeping up with this trial, what I will say about how the prosecution is doing is that, in my opinion, they're not doing so well and basically putting the facts in front of the jury to make us think that Diddy is guilty. Now, is Diddy guilty of something? Yes. Is he guilty of the things that they are accusing him of? With the evidence that I've seen so far, maybe not. I think there could be some reasonable doubt in it. Like, if this was for domestic violence, yeah, take him to jail. But Diddy is here like, hey, look, you caught me. I've done the domestic violence, but I did not do a racketeering enterprise. Yes, you got me. I've done the domestic violence, but she wanted to participate in these sexual activities. And for anybody that understands domestic violence and abusive relationships and why people don't leave, and it takes them 7 times to leave before they actually do, all of those things come into play here. But the question is whether the prosecution is getting rid of that reasonable doubt, or whether the defense is bringing in reasonable doubt with their cross-examination that's coming in. And for me, like I said, I think Diddy is guilty of something, domestic violence, things of that nature. But I don't know if we're going to be able to prove unanimously. Remember, we got to have everybody agree with us, unanimously that Diddy is guilty of the crimes that he's being charged with, i.e. racketeering, creating a criminal enterprise to engage in crimes. So you're telling the jury that Diddy organized his entourage to beat Cassie up? Like, yes, it's bad, domestic violence, all of the things. But I don't know if we can call that a RICO, right? I don't think we can call that a part of his overall plan to become the best rap Mongol in the world. I don't know if we can do that. So anyways, we got the jury, 8 men, 4 women. Don't know if they're going to be able to get all on the same page to unanimously get him behind bars. Secondly, we have the charges. We just went over that. Racketeering, sex crimes, prostitution, all the things, right? Sex trafficking. And then we get into day 1 of the testimony, or let's go into opening statements. They do their opening statements. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I didn't really pay attention to opening statements. However, in the opening statements, they were able to play that intercontinental video that we've all seen. I don't know if we've all seen it, but a lot of people seen it when it was released last year or 2 years ago, whenever that was released, of Cassie kind of running through the hallways and Diddy coming and beating her up. Now, again, guilty of DV for sure. Racketeering and freak off parties? Not too clear about it. The security guard did testify that he was bribed with a bag of money. So that in itself might lead to some more, inclination of maybe this was some type of enterprise. But paying somebody off for a video not to snitch on him, again, I don't know if that falls all the way into the racketeering. Is it illegal? Is it bribery? All of those things? Witness tampering, maybe? Yes, maybe it is. But is it a part of the racketeering? And I can't remember. What is the racketeering? I think what racketeering, I don't know if it had to do with the I don't think it had to do with the actual witness tampering, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I know it had to do with like the arson and some other things that he's done. So we go into those crimes. So security testifies. He gets his point across. He gets the intercontinental video introduced, which Diddy was trying to make sure that did not happen. But it happened anyways, okay? It happened anyways. It got in. It was also played in the opening, so it was like, it's already seen, y'all. We've already seen you drag this girl. It's been released for at least a year, right? And then we get into the male escort, who testifies a little bit of some contradictory statements, saying that Diddy is the one that planned all of these things and he would make the demands on what Cassie was to do. But the main person that he was communicating with was Cassie. That was his point of contact. That's how he got hired. That's how we knew where to meet up. And then also it was Cassie that was asking him to do the certain things. Now, could Diddy be behind the scenes pulling the strings and saying, oh, well, Cassie, tell him to do this, tell him to do that, and then Cassie just following what Diddy says? Sure, but we need to get that information from Cassie. Is he the one? Is he the ringleader behind the male escort? So male escort goes on. He gets the information in of how he was involved in these freak offs that last 4 days at sometimes, which is crazy. It's crazy. And he also testified that there were remnants that maybe other men were there before him engaging adult activities with Cassie, and that he saw Diddy beat Cassie up, and that was the last time that he went to another one of these freak offs. He didn't report it. Don't know why he didn't do that, but apparently he didn't want to see her getting beat up no more, even though he only seen it one time, and he decided to leave and not report it. So leaving Cassie in that situation to continue to go through the abuse with Diddy. Like I said, do I believe that Cassie was abused? Absolutely. But I also, we're getting a little bit, I also believe that the defense is doing a good job in casting reasonable doubt to say, well, he wasn't beating her up because of her not wanting to do the trafficking anymore. He was actually beating her up because if she found out he was cheating, he got mad that she found out, and then he beat her up because of that. And that creates reasonable doubt. I'm sorry. I don't know. I was like, Diddy got to go to jail. He's done these horrible things. I was there, but I just don't know if we have the evidence to get him under these particular charges. Now, if we got some state charges for domestic violence, yes, he's going to jail. But federal charges for racketeering, sex trafficking, all of the things, I think they're going to create that reasonable doubt. So we get through the security guard, we get through the escort, and now we get to Cassie, who has been testifying. This is her 3rd day testifying. And she gets into the nitty gritty of the relationship. We're seeing a lot of the text messages that they sent back and forth. And what I realized with today's cross-examination is they did a lot of time they spent a lot of time focusing on the text messages from 2009. Okay. We talked about Cassie was in this relationship and abused by Diddy for 11 years. Why are we stuck in 2009? I believe that was like the first year of the relationship. Like, yes, of course there was rose-colored glasses and in love, and she thought she had to do this to be in love with him and all of the things, right? Of course there's that. But why are we spending so much time on the beginning of the relationship? They're basically trying to establish that this was this freaky deaky relationship. And Cassie enjoyed it. But you can enjoy freaky deaky relationship, but that doesn't mean that you're consenting to being beat up. That doesn't mean that you're consenting to that in order to be in the relationship, right? Just because you don't leave. Of course, most of us that watch this channel, we understand how domestic violence work. We understand that it takes victims to leave or takes them several times to leave, but the defense is basically trying to paint it as she loved him so much, she wanted him to beat her. While I don't think that is going to, be the be all end all that Cassie consented to being beat up by Diddy, I do think that it puts some reasonable doubt in the jury's mind that, okay, well, maybe it wasn't so bad like she claims it was. Now, do we agree with the people that may come to that decision? Maybe not, but there are jurors and they are the ones that get the final vote. So we also got information yesterday. We talked about and we've speculated about the civil lawsuit that Cassie had with Diddy, where they settled in 24 hours. Okay. Remember, we covered that civil lawsuit where Cassie sued Diddy, saying he put her through years of abuse. He hurt her. She has damages. She had to go through therapy. I don't remember if she went to like rehab or something because of everything that he put her through. And she asked for $30 million. Since then, we have been speculating that Cassie received $30 million to settle that lawsuit in 24 hours. It comes out that she actually received $20 million, while still a good chunk of change. Nice to take care of the little baby that she's about to have, right? It's not the full $30 million that we originally thought she settled for. I didn't think we would get that kind of information in this trial, but I'm happy that we did. Which makes me wonder, did he ever offer anything to her before settling the trial? And if I remember correctly, it was $10 million and for her to go away. Now, does that mean Diddy is guilty of the charges that are being brought against him? No, it doesn't. What it does mean, he didn't want the story to go out further and people to find out that it is true that he was abusing her. Now, he did all of that. He paid her $20 million to say, hush, hush, let's put this away. Let's not go into the detail, just to come into his criminal trial and admit that, yeah, he abused her, but abuse is not racketeering. Okay. He is admitting in this trial. His defense is, yeah, I beat her up. Yes, I did. I'm probably going to get red flagged on this video already because it's an intense topic. Okay. I was talking about beating people up and all kinds of stuff, and it's only been 15 minutes on the live stream. I got to get it together. Well, I can't get it together because Diddy is the one that put the content in front of us, right? So he went through all of that to shut her up about the abuse allegations, not confirming or denying that the things happened, settled with her, gave her $20 million, and then the feds decided they were going to press criminal charges against Diddy, and then he gets in front of us, criminal trial and all, and says, yes, I beat her up. He probably could have saved his $20 million if he knew this was coming, right? Because he's had to admit to it. Now, he's not admitting to every singular thing that she claimed, but overall, we knew he was guilty of something by giving her a settlement, right? Now we know that he was guilty of the abuse by giving her a $20 million settlement to try to get her to shut up. And now in the criminal trial, we know that he's guilty because he says, yes, I did beat her up. But that is not racketeering, but that is not sex trafficking. Am I a little freaky neaky? Yes, but that is not a crime, is what he's basically trying to say. And I think he might be able to convince some of the jurors. So that's where we were with direct she testified to the freak off. She testified to not really consenting to it. She testified to doing it to making him happy. She testified to, yes, Diddy's going to say my motivation was the $20 million in the civil lawsuit. But the civil lawsuit has been settled for a year and a half now. So I don't know if you could really use that to say, oh, well, I decided to participate in this criminal trial because I wanted more money out of the civil lawsuit. The civil lawsuit is gone, right? They've signed papers. He's probably paid the money, or at least a portion of the money. But going forward, we're not talking about this again, okay? The criminal trial, she has no authority over that. She's subpoenaed. She has to be there. She has to come and tell her story. So the defense trying to use that $20 million as this was your motivation to press criminal charges. I don't even know if she pressed the criminal charges. I think that the Fed saw this, was like, that's strange. Let me go ahead and we're going to press some criminal charges. Now, the other thing that I find interesting that just left my mind and I don't remember what it is. Oh, the Feds came out and they told us, y'all, we got how many terabytes? Was it 40 terabytes of information? What was it, y'all? How much information did they have? They told us they found this. They found baby oil. They found that. We have not had any testimony that, yes, the baby oil was for sure laced. They said they did a lot of drugs. Yeah. Which, again, we're going to get into it, is also going to cause some reasonable doubts. How you remember that happened when you was high all the time, drugged all the time, all of the things, right? Although Cassie is the star witness, I don't think she's really going to help the case at this point. Because he's already told us, yeah, I beat her up. And, why are we going on and on? I didn't sex traffic her. I just beat her up. And she was into it. We got text messages saying she was into it. Could that be because she was under coercive control? Sure. But they don't have to make us believe it. They have to make the jury believe it. If y'all are watching live, make sure y'all are going ahead and drop it in the chat, letting me know your thoughts on the Diddy case so far. I'm just doing a brief recap, and then we're going to get into day 4, and we're starting off with cross-examination because your girl has not been streaming all week. I was going to stream yesterday, y'all. I was really going to stream yesterday, but some things came up, and I wasn't able to do it. So Cassie got the information out there, right? In her words, powerful testimony, she was the victim, right? And then we get into today where we're in cross-examination. And what does the defense decide to do? Drop 400 pages of evidence on the prosecution to sort through. 400 pages last night. And they said, well, Your Honor, that was just in response to the testimony that Cassie gave. Got 400 pages? Y'all was up all night getting 400 pages together? And what I'm finding in what I've been able to access on this day is that they're spending a lot of time going through text messages. The judge is getting a little fed up, like, okay, well, this lady needs to be done testifying by the end of tomorrow, Friday. So she's been on the stand. It'll be her 4th day on the stand. She's been on the stand for 4 days. She is about to pop. She's very pregnant, for those of you that haven't seen the drawings or the pictures or anything. She's very pregnant, and they think that she's going to give birth any day. So they want her to hurry up her testimony, which I think is going to be a basis for Diddy to say, mistrial. I didn't get to finish I didn't get to finish. What is the word? I can't even think it. Where you confront your witness, right? I didn't get to finish confronting my witness because the judge put a time limit on the amount of questions I was able to ask. The judge's argument is you didn't use your time wisely. You read a bunch of text messages. And might I add, I don't have the full transcripts, but from the transcripts that I've read, they didn't lay no foundation. There's barely any objections. It's just a mess. It's a mess all around. So let's go ahead and read the summary that we have from CBS News, because they get to be there and I don't, because I got to go to work, y'all. I got to earn some coins, okay? Earn some coins just like they're earning. They're working hard and earning their money. I got to do the same thing. So let's read the summary of what they said happened today. And then I'm going to read some of the transcript of what has happened today. And then we're going to talk about it. But again, no, actually, before we get into the the summary. Let me go ahead and check out some of the comments and then we'll jump into that. So say hello to everyone. Hello, Kimmy Locker, member, moderator, consultant, paralegal of the channel. Welcome into the live stream and backstage, saying, wow, that's a pretty big age range for a jury. It's a huge age range for those of you that missed it. The jurors are from ages 28 to 74. We have 4 women and 8 men. Do we think that Diddy is going to unanimously be voted into prison for life? I don't know. I don't know about that. Destin to be moderator of the channel. Welcome back, saying, hey, BriHive, hello, and welcome back. Nice to have you in tonight. Kimmy saying, hey, Destin to be. We got Chris Mullen, member of the channel. Welcome back, saying, hey, Bri and everyone. Hello, and dropping some of the Bri emojis. I haven't made a lot of those. I haven't made any of those in a long time. Maybe I need to make some more. But welcome in. Nice to have you in tonight. We got Kimmy Locker saying, hey to Chris Mullen. Everybody saying, hey to each other. Hello, and welcome in. Kimmy Locker saying, it would be beyond frustrating if justice ultimately isn't served because of charging decisions. And they rushed it. They rushed it so fast. They dropped all of these superseded indictments. I think we got to 3 superseded indictments. And the terabytes, where is the terabytes of information we were promised? Where is the juice? Where is the details that is going to tie this into racketeering? And I'm not saying they're not putting on any details to tie this into racketeering, but you need to put on unanimous details to tie this into racketeering. Diddy is throwing little darts at everything that you guys are putting up. Y'all putting it up, they're blocking it. Okay, we in basketball. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get to unanimous on the stuff that the prosecution is putting forward. And Diddy is smart. He did. I want my right to a speedy trial. We got to get in there. Get in there. Because guess whose job it is to prove the case? Not the defense. It's not the defense's job to prove the case. It's the prosecution's job to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And Diddy has a right as a defendant to a speedy trial. He's been locked up this whole time. Y'all remember he's been in there since September. He's been trying to get out since September. He's been trying to get out. And you now have, what was it, 8 months to prepare for trial? And Diddy said, bet, I'm going to distract y'all so much. Who can count how many freaking filings Diddy did? Motion to dismiss that. Motion to suppress that. Motion they're bad. Let's have a hearing. In these 8 months, they're filing multiple things, right? Distracting the government and getting things done. And now we have this speedy thrown together, in my opinion, from what I'm able to see. It seems like a speedy thrown together trial. And I don't even think we're going to be able to get to half the evidence that the government claimed they grabbed from his house. This trial is expected to end before the 4th of July. So we have, a month and a half? What is that? It'll be, because it started this week, about 7 weeks, 7-week trial. There's no way we're getting through all that evidence that they claim to have. Because remember, we haven't seen it yet. Maybe it's racketeering on the gun charges because he had the guns with the scratched off serial numbers. I got to look up what the racketeering is on because I didn't forgot. Okay. Chris Mullen saying, hey, DC312. I'm sorry, I went on a tangent on that one. Kimmy saying 20 million isn't enough for Cassie's settlement with Diddy and the abuse that he did against her for 10, 11 years. I would agree, but it's more than the millions that I got. So I think I would take it. Destin to Be says, I think the prosecution is setting it up by asking her who was there and what did they do to show there was an enterprise. Yes, I think that is what they're trying to do. I don't know if they've really tied it together though. But again, you're right, Tiny or Destined to Be. It is only the 4th day of trial, right? I'm kind of jumping ahead. It's only the 4th day of the trial. But also, Cassie's testimony has been, they watched me get beat up. It does watching and not reporting. Do they have a duty to report, right? Does that create the enterprise? Now, the thing about one of his entourages driving him around to come find her to beat her up at someone's house, that might say, sure, they were an accomplice in her DV situation, But is it enough to bring it to racketeering? But yes, I do think they're definitely trying to tie it together. Destin the Bee says, they said it's expected to be 10 weeks. We aren't even a week in, so I'll wait for more info. Yep, that's all we can do. Then we got Chris Mullins saying, hey again. And then Kanye D saying, definitely 20 million definitely isn't enough. It has been a long time of her being abused. I thought that she really settled for the 30 million. I was kind of disappointed that it was the 20 million, right? I don't think any money can really justify or fix what happened to her, right? I'm getting slow internet, so hopefully it's not slow for y'all. Destin to Be says, Cassie had to come in early before the baby drops, LOL. Yeah, and I think they're going to keep her... I can't think of the words today. My brain is gone. They're basically going to keep her available to call. That's what recall the witness. That's what I think. I think they're going to give her time to actually have the baby, maybe take some maternity leave, and then be back in trial, maybe towards the end of the trial when we start getting into Diddy's case in chief, and when we start getting closer to the end of the prosecutions or rebuttal and all of the things. I think she is going to be subject to recall. Those are the words I was looking for. So no, I definitely agree. They are, like, even to right now, they're like, well, y'all need to hurry up, which is bad. That's going to help Diddy ask for whatever decision to be made to be set aside, because we didn't even get to finish questioning the prosecution star witness. So what do you know? I don't like that. Them rushing them, I know the judge has the right to move the trial along, but them rushing them, I think is going to give him a basis to try to get the thing overturned. Speaking of getting things overturned, I haven't posted it on YouTube. I posted it on TikTok. Laura Owens, this is off topic, y'all, but Laura Owens, remember we did the Bachelor's trial where Laura Owens was trying to accuse Clayton or Eckert, the Bachelor, of being her baby daddy when she was never really pregnant? Yeah, she got indicted, okay? I have that indictment too. I just have been too busy to get through a lot of stuff. But she got indicted on the lying, on the falsifying of her miscarriage and pregnancy and everything. My girl's going to jail. She is gonna go to jail for lying on that man. So hopefully she's done with that. But anyways, hopefully Cassie has a safe delivery of her baby, and hopefully they finish her testimony without it being too rushed, so that Diddy doesn't feel like they have to that they're rushing and try to use that as a basis to get whatever decision, if he is found guilty, to get that overturned. I do think that he is going to be found guilty on some things. I just don't know if he's going to be found guilty on everything. That's where I'm at right now with it. Okay, so thank you everyone that has commented so far. If y'all are watching live, please do hit the like button. It definitely helps us out. And if you are watching on the replay, also hit the like button because it does help us out. Okay. Destin to Be says, I was wondering if you saw she got indicted. Yes, I did. I have the indictment. I haven't read it all the way, but I did make like a little short on it. I just need to post it on YouTube. And I'm sorry, I've been kind of neglecting YouTube because I'm trying to grow my TikTok too. But you know how I do. I get too distracted. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the summary of what happened today, and then we'll jump into some of the transcripts. And y'all, of course, feel free to drop your drop your opinion on what you think about the case so far. So I have not streamed sharing my screen in a while, so I'm trying to figure out, like, oh, there we are. I thought I had another one where I could be like a little in the corner. Okay, I'll be up here in the corner. Okay, so this is from day 4. Cassie Ventura, Sean Diddy Combs' former girlfriend, was on the witness stand for a third day Thursday as the defense attorneys began their cross-examination. They questioned her about their nearly 11-year off and on relationship and displayed many messages between the two. A lot of time was spent on messages that were sexually explicit, loving, and at times full of jealousy. They also honed in on drug use, pointed out specifically that Ventura often did drugs without Combs. Yeah, they did focus on that a lot. Another thing about it, they are focusing on the beginning of the relationship and focusing a lot of time on actual text messages, which I don't like. I think that ended up wasting a lot of their time. Like, a lot of the things that they read in the text messages, she had already testified to. And then they kind of go in and they want to read every single line instead of her saying, yes, I loved him. Yes, I said those things to him, but also that was a long time ago. Like, what more do you want from us? I think they're wasting a lot of time going through the text messages. So the relationship in focus. The defense asked Ventura if she was in love with Combs, and she said yes, and explained what made her fall in love. She described for the jury a fast and scary beginning, further explaining the more time she spent with him and got to know him, she saw what she thought was his real personality come out. She called him sweet and attentive. You told him you wanted to do freak-offs, Ventura was asked. Like, that was a quick escalation of the testimony. But yes, and she responds, no, there's a lot more to that, Ventura replied. Remember, Cassie was, 15 years or so younger than Diddy? And her testimony is that she was trying to be sexually adventurous and she wanted to explore her sexuality. And in my opinion, I think Diddy exploited it. She wanted to be accepted by him. She was young. She was dumb. I'm sorry, Cassie, but young and dumb. And he took advantage of that, full advantage of it. I definitely believe that. So for his attorneys to try to just sum it up and be like, you was all right with it, right? You was down for the freaknik, okay? I think that's insensitive, but I understand they're the defense attorney. But let's go on. Okay. So text messages under scrutiny. Messages were displayed about her helping him coordinate freak-offs. Combs wrote he wished a specific escort could be there. He allegedly wrote, want to call him and fill him out? ? Yeah, I can do that, Ventura replied. He said, we can't, I think the attorney, someone saying, we can't judge them for being illegal or criminal if both sides are willing participants. Y'all, I'm sorry. I was reading a different article. I haven't read this article yet. And so, people are kind of reporting on this, so they're picking and pulling what they want to put into things. So I haven't seen everything in this article because I was using a different article, which is way too long for this live stream. But that was a wild statement. We can't judge them for being illegal or criminal if both sides are willing to participate. Sir, you are the one that is on trial for prostitution and sex trafficking. Like, yes, escorts are illegal as far as the prostitution point goes, but for you to argue, it can't be that bad because Cassie also participated in it. That is wild. That is wild. They go on to say, so what they wanted to do was lay the foundation that this was a relationship that she wanted to be in and that she wanted to participate in this type of activities. Attorney Dante Mills said Mills is not involved in this particular case. Basically, someone just giving their opinion. Okay, I thought that came from the lawyers. I was like, what do you mean? But that is basically the argument that they're trying to make. It's not that bad because she participated in it, right? She participated in it. Okay. Let's go on here. Damages from the videos. The defense pointed out earlier testimony where Ventura says she worried that if she released the freak-off tapes, let me start over. The defense pointed out earlier testimony where Ventura says she worried that if the release of freak-off tapes would ruin her career, then they asked Ventura about filing her civil lawsuit against Combs. They say, you understand his career was ruined, right? Defense attorneys actually said, I could understand that. Like, what that got to do with me? I got my money because he was beating me up. He shouldn't have been beating me up. They go into the swingers lifestyle. The defense also asked Ventura about early swingers conversation with Combs, during which he explained the lifestyle to her. They asked her if she understood freak-offs to be related to the lifestyle of a swinger. And she said they're very different. Right, because there are a lot of swingers in the world, right? I don't know if they all engage in, drugs and baby oil. And one thing they said was like the baby oil was to fill up a pool, which is crazy. Slip and slides in Diddy's house, okay? Bree, take that serious. This is a serious case. I'm sorry. The baby oil is still an outrageous thing. And they keep trying to bring it up, but they're not sticking any points. I mean, I guess because baby oil is slippery, they can't stick any points. Brie, let it go. But yeah, they're not sticking any points when it comes to the baby oil, in my opinion. But also, I have not been following this line for line because your girl got a job that she got to go to work and do. But anyways, she's saying that the freak offs are very different. Yes, a full on, basically what I would describe as an orgy. Okay, this sounds like an orgy. You're hiring escorts. That's not the same thing as being swingers, right? Trading partners, things of that nature. But let's go on to drug use. Apparently, this one's going through it really fast. So drug use. Another message was displayed where Ventura was allegedly asking Combs for pills, but Ventura couldn't recall what kind she was asking for. The defense asked if they were both addicts. During that time, yes, is what Cassie said. They were both addicts. Did you ever take drugs from him without knowing about it? The defense asked. She said, yeah. Adding Combs' reaction was explosive. So basically, if he offered her something and she didn't take it, then he would basically have a temper tantrum, because it sounds like that's just what he do as a grown man. I don't understand why, but it sounds like that's what he does. The defense also asked about jealousy and infidelity. Combs' daughters didn't come to court Thursday, but his sons and mother did. Ventura, who is 8.5 months pregnant, will be back on the stand on Friday. Combs has pleaded not guilty to 5 counts, including sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. A main part of the racketeering charge is the allegation that he used employees to facilitate illegal activities. And I guess, yes, illegal activities. I know some of it was arson. I don't know if part of the illegal activities was domestic violence, because although they're not charging him federally with domestic violence, it is still a crime, at least on the state level, for domestic violence, right? And then if you go into federal battery, assault, things of that nature, attempted unaliving, we could probably say some of this is to the point where she's saying that he's being beat. So that was the summary that they came up with. They talked about drugs, they talked about jealousy, they talked about the sex parties, they went through the text messages. So unfortunately, y'all, I don't remember my password to Twitter, so I am going to be reading off of my phone. This nice Twitter thread that kind of goes through some of the testimony. We kind of went through some right now, and it all just reset. Come on, really? It all just reset on me. Okay, here we are. Let's do this. So we'll go through some of the conversation that was had with Cassie on the stand, and then we'll go from there. So is this the thread? Oh no, didn't mean to click that. Okay, I think this is it. Okay, so it starts off with, let me go ahead and mark this. The examination. This is going to be bad because it's going to look like I'm looking away, but we got to figure out how to do this without being too off the camera. So they started off the day basically talking about the 400 pages of discovery and being a part of the meet and confer about what evidence can be introduced into evidence. So let me go ahead and scroll through that and get the jury in. And the Combs' lawyer, Estavo, who again, in my opinion, is being very insensitive to Cassie, but also Cassie is a hostile witness for them because she is basically helping the prosecution's side, and Estavo is probably not being the nicest to her on the stand. He's basically calling her a liar and saying, yeah, you like that. Like, come on, dude, that is so inappropriate. Okay, so the jury comes in. Combs' lawyer, Estavo, says, Ms. Ventura, you love Mr. Combs, correct. Started off strong. You loved him. Just because you love someone does not mean that they have to sex traffic you. Okay? Or abuse you. All of the things, right? That doesn't mean it. She says, I did. Estavo says, for 11 years, you took care of him. She said, in some ways. Estavo says, you called him larger than life. Oh my gosh, there's a huge spider in here. Oh my gosh. Yo, I can't do the spider. We are taking a short commercial break. Sorry, it's going to be animal cruelty because I am not being in here with that spider. Give me a second. We're back. I don't know if I actually got it or if it's on my floor now. I am terrified. I'm terrified. Okay, let's. I don't know where it went. Oh my God. I hope it did. I hope it's dead. It started like crawling downward. And so I don't know if it fell or if it's on my desk under some papers now. My skin is crawling. My skin is crawling. My skin is crawling. Okay. Okay. Where were we at? We were in the messages. Not the messages, the testimony on Twitter. Oh my gosh. I feel like it's gonna be crawling on the floor soon because I don't know if I got it. I really don't know. And I feel like it's on me. It better be on me. Okay. Let's get our composures. Let's get our composures back on. Okay, so we were on to Cassie testifying. They start off strong by asking her if she loved him, and for 11 years, blah, blah, blah. She said, you called him larger than life. She says, I did. Estavo says, others called him Diddy or Puff Daddy, but you called him Sean, right? She says, yes. Estavo says, you knew a version of him the rest of the world couldn't see, right? The USA attorney says, objection. Judge says, overruled. Don't know why he objected to that. They don't object to anything else, it seems like. But anyways, she said in ways that she saw him a different way than the rest of the world really saw him. I feel like I'm scared that spiders go pop back up, y'all. Oh my gosh. I hate those spiders. Okay. Keep going on. Estavo says, you kept coming back to him for 11 years. Cassie says, I wouldn't say coming back. Estavo says, you believed he loved you too. Cassie says, I did believe he loved me too. His attorney says, so when he cheated on you, it hurt. She said, not every time. So for those of you who do not know, they basically established that Diddy would cheat on her. Like, yes, they were supposedly in a committed relationship, but Diddy still had his cake and ate it too, essentially. They go on. Estavo says, bring up this defense exhibit. The attorney for the state or the government objects. Not in evidence. Judge says, that's true. This is not in evidence. Estavo, the attorney for Diddy, says, Ms. Ventura, read it just to yourself. Why did you send this message? So again, this is what I was talking about earlier. Y'all see me fidgeting because now I feel like the spider is anywhere. They had her read it to herself, and then they started asking questions on it. To me, that's not laying foundation. What are these text messages? Did you send them? Is it a conversation between you and Diddy? Do you contest that any of these messages are not yours? Whatever it is, right? That's how you lay foundation. You don't say, read it to yourself. What did you say? And then what did you say? And then what did you say? That is hearsay. She's reading the text messages. You're saying it to prove the truth of the matter asserted. Right? So it's hearsay. And I guess you could say statements against a party interest, blah, blah, blah. But still, you don't just make your witness read the text messages. Okay. So let's go on. Estavo says, what was going on when these messages were sent? Cassie says, I'm not sure. Estavo says, what was going on in your relationship then? Ventura says, it was early. We were loving. Estavo says, I offer it. The government says, objection. Being offered for the truth, the court overruled it. I still don't think it should have been let in unless there was other foundation that's not in this thread that was laid, but that was not foundation. She read the messages. They asked what was going on. All she said, it was early in our relationship. They said, admit it into evidence. What is the judge doing? What are these attorneys doing? That is not laying foundation. Like, get it together here. Estavo, Diddy's attorney, says, please read. Cassie said, I wrote, I love you, smiley face. I'll fly anywhere for you. I love you, signed Cass. Estavo says, this 2009 email. The government says, objection, hearsay. These people are playing around because what do you mean objection hearsay based on the email? The judge says, Miss Estavo, ask more questions. Who is Miss Estavo and how long has she been practicing? Because she is not doing a good job in my opinion, but hey, look at me not being an AUSA, an attorney for the government. Okay. Well, technically I am, but not for the federal government. Anyways, let's go on. Estavo says, from BlackBerry, what is BG? Ventura says, baby girl. Estavo says, where did you write? Ventura says, or Cassie says, you hungry, pop, pop. Estavo says, and Mr. Combs wrote you We are so in love, we don't do anything else. How long had you been seeing each other? Cassie says, like 2.5 years. So again, they are reading and saying, admitting information into evidence that's not in evidence, and there's just no objection. They're just objecting at the very beginning and then not continuing to kind of hound on them. I get they want to move the trial along, but this information is not properly before the court, in my opinion. Again, I am just reading a thread from someone that's copying the transcripts, so maybe they skipped all that laying of the foundation. I don't know. So Asavo goes on to please read 1364. Cassie says, I haven't talked to you at all. You don't even try. You rush me off the phone. I'm really hurt. I don't need your money. I need some attention. Asavo says, you wanted your special time with Mr. Combs. Ventura says, yes, they were in a relationship. She wanted him to show her love. Asavo says, you testified that you told him, I love you so much. Make me a better woman. Cassie says, I definitely wrote those messages. Asavo says, you wrote, I can't wait until we have a baby of our own. You knew that he had 6 children at the time? Cassie says, yes. Asavo says, so now these messages about freak-offs, when you say you don't know, or when you say you know it doesn't matter to me, you mean weekend or weekday either is fine. Ventura says, that's what it says. And this is where you start to see Cassie become a hostile witness. Asavo says, Mr. Combs says, maybe we can call Jules. Can you do it? And I think Cassie is saying yes. Asavo says, this was an explicit message from you about anticipated upcoming freak off. ASUA Johnson, so attorney Johnson says, objection. And then I don't get any more. I don't get any more for that objection. So I don't know. They end up going to take a recess, but I don't know if that objection was ever answered because, again, I'm reading the transcript of somebody else just posting the transcripts on Twitter. They come back and the judge says to Mrs. Stavo, you may proceed. Combs Estavos, his attorney Estavo says, Ms. Ventura, this is from Mr. Combs to you. You respond with an extremely explicit message, right? Ventura, Cassie says, yes. Asavo says, this is 2 days after the planning of a freak off, right? She says, yes. Asavo says, he said, I want to see you. How did you reply? Ventura, Cassie says, I can't wait either. Asavo, you wrote, I feel like I want to F tonight. Oh yeah, I fixed my little beeper. So you feel like you want to, right? Nasty stuff. Okay. Cassie says, that's what it says. Because literally all this attorney is doing is reading the text messages. Like, this is a waste of time. You admitted it into evidence. Let it be. Let them read that at a different time. You established that they were in love and she talked about wanting to engage in freaky stuff sometimes. Okay, they're nitpicking and cherry picking, when she was okay with it and when she wasn't okay with it and all of the things. I don't think that's really establishing their point, but they're going to stick to it. And again, their point is not to prove that none of this stuff happened. Their point is to cast reasonable doubt on this of it actually being criminal, what he was doing. Sorry, y'all. I'm getting like weird feelings. I got to get out of here. I feel like the spider's still here. Ventura says, wait, there we go. Estavo says, he said, I want to see you. How did you reply? We already got through that. And she says, Mr. Combs says, I'm so corn E with the H in the front. I can't concentrate. What do you say? Cassie says that I'll go to Dwayne Reed for candles and then set up the room. Combs, Estavo says, did you understand that he was going to take another video of you? The government attorney says, objection, speculation. Judge says, Mrs. Stavo, you can move on. Exactly, move on. You're like, why are we focusing? Sorry, y'all. I'm acting like I'm in the court. Destiny B says, reading 5,000 texts is crazy. Did she actually read 5,000? Because literally that's all she's doing is just reading the text messages. It's like, you already admitted them into evidence. Like, move on. And that's what the judge said. Move on. Move on, move on, move on. It's like you didn't really prepare any questions. You're just trying to read the text messages. And honestly, I kind of feel like they're trying to torture her on behalf of Diddy by making her stay on the stand and then see, look, Cassie, you were in love with me. Look at these messages. But yeah, I also beat you up. Like, that is crazy work if you ask me. Okay. So They said to move on. Where was that one at? You can move on. Asavo says, you asked any pills on you? She said, yes. Asavo says, what pills were you taking then? Cassie says, opiates. Asavo says, you deleted videos on your devices, right? Cassie said, yes. Asavo says, what did you write? Ventura says, that I need to feel this. This is my husband, the only one who will see this side of me. And again, that was like a weird transition into questioning because she kind of went back to the stuff the judge already told her to move on from. Asavo says, were you afraid that Mr. Combs was only seeing you for sex in this way? Cassie says, that was a concern. Asavo says, you still were not public in your relationship with him. Cassie says, correct. Asavo says, you were freak offs important, question mark. And Cassie says, integral to us. That is shady. She said, y'all wasn't public with your relationship, but you were important enough for a freak off. That is shady. Asavo says, who was at your 21st birthday in Las Vegas? Ventura says, Britney Spears, Dallas, Austin. Asavo says, how did you get them there? Ventura said, they came for Sean. Asavo says, you're very beautiful and charming. Cassie says, thank you. And I can only imagine that her thank you was not like, oh, thank you, girl. I was probably like, thanks, you know? And Asavo says, it's true. Why did you need to say that on cross-examination? That was weird to me. Asavo goes on to say, who is Tommy Mottola? Cassie says, a well-known producer. Asavo says, you were an up-and-coming star. Cassie said, I guess I could say that. Because Asavo says, after you signed with Bad Boy, things were still platonic. Cassie said, yes. Asavo, you had a rough performance. Cassie says, 106 in Park. It did not go well for me. Asavo, how did he help you after that? Cassie, we did a YouTube video. He said everybody makes mistakes. Asavo, what was wrong? Cassie, I couldn't hear myself. Asavo says, you were dating Mr. Combs, or you were dating Mr. Leslie. How much older than you was he? Ventura says 10 years. Asavo, then you traveled to Miami with Mr. Combs. The flyer of the event was just a cover up to spend time with Combs, right? Cassie, that's true. Asavo, you had a tattoo of Mr. Leslie initials on your body, right? Cassie, yes. Asavo, how many tattoos did you have then? The attorney for the government says objection, relevance. Judge says overruled, but let's keep it moving. So they're basically trying to push the testimony forward. We're on trial for Diddy abusing Cassie, but we are talking about who Cassie dated before Diddy, who was also older than her, who was also a man of power in the music industry. Probably not making the best dating decisions at that time in her life, right? And Dustin B is asking me if I've seen the 106 in Park performance. Not that I know of. I haven't seen it recently, definitely. Maybe a long time ago, but I don't know. I don't remember. I have not watched it to see what happened there. Okay. So Asavo says, Mr. Combs taught you how to do oral adult activities. That escalated quickly. Cassie, oh wait, I skipped over something. So relevance overall, but let's keep it moving. And then Ventura said three tattoos is what she had at the time. Asavo, the one on your arm. Answer, no regrets. Question mark. I don't know what that meant. Asavo says, Mr. Combs taught you how to do oral adult activities. Cassie said he did. Why is that a thing? Like, why are we talking about that here? That just threw me off. Asavo says, look at this. Tell me when you're ready. Can you read it? Ventura says, you can read it. It's making me laugh. It's from 2007. Asavo, you wrote, I feel protected. You are sweet. So now Cassie is kind of making a joke of the stuff that the defense attorney is putting in front of her by saying, this was stupid. Why did I write that dumb stuff? Asavo, you wrote, I see that Carrie is better fitting for you. I'm hurt that you think I'm malicious. You're very important to me. Signed, Cass. Cassie laughs. Why are you laughing on the stand, ma'am? Oh my gosh. Estavo says, what were you trying to convey? Cassie, well, I mean, she did just read it and she didn't ask a question. Estavo is not asking questions. So Cassie responds by laughing at her reading the text message. Like, yeah, I was being stupid then, right? Cassie says, it's like a journal entry. Estavo says, you discussed Carrie Morgan. Did you think Combs was attracted to her? Ventura said, there was a point in the very beginning. Estavo, did that complication carry on in your relationship? Ventura, Cassie says, not really. Carrie was just always with us. And I believe that was it on the threads that I got. Oh no, there's more. I got more, guys. Estavo, I'd like to start asking about freak off. Sometimes you wear a wig and a mask. Cassie, yes. This is gonna get weird, y'all. Estavo, the general public did not know. ASUS Johnson, objection. What is your basis of your objection? You can't just yell out objection. And the judge just automatically responds and says, rephrase. Estavo, no one knew until November 2023 in the public. And she says, yes. Estavo, fair to say his career was ruined after your lawsuit. Ventura says, I could understand that. Estavo, let's read these messages. Mr. Combs wrote, when are you on your period? Ventura says, not now. Estavo says, what you be thinking about when you all spiced up? I don't want to say that word on stream. Estavo, Ms. Ventura, if you don't want to read the answers, I can read them. Cassie said, thank you. I'm not reading this role play with you, crazy lady. Like, what is her thought process? Oh gosh, this attorney. Victoria said, thank you. Cassie's like, yeah, I'm not reading that. Estavo says, the O has lots of O's after them, right? Cassie, yes. After freak off, you make love with Combs. Cassie says, yes. Estavo says, your period. Mr. Combs is asking you when you're on your period, right? She says, yep. Estavo says, he's asking in the context of when to meet up and have sex. Cassie says, looks like it. Estavo, and that's speculation, but why object to something that's stupid? That's a stupid question. Estavo says, sometimes you watch him with a female. Ventura says 2 or 3 times. But remember, Diddy was watching her constantly with other men, male escorts, right? And I didn't talk about this earlier. Cassie basically named off a bunch of escorts. They showed her a picture of men and she's like, oh, well, that's him, that's him, that's him, that's him. He's from this place. This is where we did freak offs with them. This is when we did the escort with him. Da, da, da. Like, they was dealing with escorts for sure, which is, to me, not to like kink shame or nothing, but that's a weird thing to be into. You want to watch a girl get handled by other men and then... I'm not judging. I'm kind of judging. That's kind of weird. Anyways, let's go on. Don't want to offend anybody. Let's go on. Estavo, did you talk to Mr. Combs about the swinger lifestyle? Ventura, that no one talks about it. Estavo says, were you keeping freak off secret from your friends? Cassie, yes. Estavo, his assistants help him, Cassie, with everything. The assistants help him with everything. Remember, they're trying to establish that enterprise or the racketeering. But why is Diddy's attorney doing it for him? Did the assistants help him engage in the freak offs? She said they help him with everything. That is laying foundation for that racketeering. Let's go on. Estavo, would remember if an assistant came in during one of the sessions with an escort? Cassie, not necessarily. I was high. Again, that is going to create some reasonable doubt. Why should we believe what you're talking about if you were high all the time? That's going to create reasonable doubt, right? She doesn't remember if the assistants brought in escorts because she was too high to know who was coming in and out of the room. That's bad. That's bad. Estavo says, so you don't remember much. Cassie, I had my privacy invaded a lot during that relationship. So Cassie is coming with the fire answer. It's like, you don't remember a lot. That was a good thing that's the best thing that Estavo has done so far in this questioning. You don't remember a lot because you were high. That's the questioning she needed to go down. Cassie claps back and goes, my privacy was invaded. Nah, sis. Unresponsive. Answer my question. You don't remember a lot from the time you were with Mr. Combs, correct? Okay, that's a yes or no answer. Not, oh, my privacy was invaded. Sorry, Cassie, I'm not trying to not be on your side, but it was a smooth answer. I'll give her that. It was a smooth answer, but it was not the answer to her question. And if I was Estavo, I would have went right up in there because no, don't play with me. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. You don't remember a lot because you were high. No. Credibility. They would have to attack her. I'm not trying to help Diddy, so let me shut up. Okay, let's go on. Let's go on. Her privacy was invaded. Estavo, this is from July 2012. You just moved on? Why would you move on from that? Estavo, this is from July 2012. You say, Mr. Combs, I'm spicy, excited, and bored. This was after a freak off, right? Cassie, there are a lot of texts here said to be 25 pages. Where will defense's exhibit ostensibly entered as evidence be available? I don't know who put that in there, but whatever. So they're asking her about these messages. She's like, I don't know. There's a lot. I don't remember the context of things from 2012. Why would I remember all of that? Okay. Johnson says, I would ask that the witness be allowed to read the entire document. Judge says, how many pages? Estavo says, 8. The government says, we don't have a copy for the witness. Estavo says, we'll show it on the screen, but not to the public gallery. Estavo says, you said Mr. Combs often put you down, but he also sent you encouragement and called you a queen, right? Cassie says, yes. They go to sidebar. Now, okay. That is the cycle of abuse that you're describing here. So I am hoping that they're going to have some type of psychologist, some type of mental health therapist, somebody come in to basically explain the cycle of abuse. She said, he tore me down. He made a lot of comments, negative comments to me. And then Diddy's response is, oh, but he also said nice things to you, right? Yes, because that is the cycle of abuse. You got the honeymoon, you got the buildup, you got the crash out, you got the honeymoon, you got the buildup, you got the crash out. That is literally the cycle of abuse. Is Diddy's attorneys trying to prove the prosecution's case for them? I don't know. As y'all can see, I'm all over the place. I think they're both doing things wrong. I think both attorneys are doing things wrong. That's why I like the position that I'm in now, the type of job that I have, because I get to be a neutral party and I get to judge both people. Okay. So they go to sidebar. Estavo says, what would trigger Mr. Combs' assessment calls to you? Ventura, anger, doubt about where I was. Estavo, if he suspected you of cheating, he'd call you incessantly. Cassie, that was one of the reasons. Estavo, because he thought ASA Johnson. Objection. Judge says overruled. Because guess what? Speculations. That's what our objection is. And the judge is basically just reading the government attorney's mind. Okay. Estavo, do you believe Mr. Combs has good taste? Ventura, I think he does. Estavo, he had an impact on fashion. Ventura said people like his style. Sean John. Estavo, did you consult with him on your look? Ventura, sometimes I got advice I didn't ask for. Estavo, he still ran his companies even while having all these freak offs, right? Cassie, yes. Why would him having freak offs stop him from running his companies? They're asking stupid questions. Estavo says, what was he addicted to? Victor, Cassie says success and laughs. Cassie is taking these questions as a joke. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm right there with her because these questions are a joke. These questions are very much so a joke, in my opinion. He's addicted to success. Okay, Estavo, what substances? Opiates? This attorney is all over the place with her questions. Okay, what substances? Opiates? Cassie, yes, he told me and I saw it. Estavo, did Mr. Combs' mood depend on whether or not he was withdrawing from opiates? Cassie, he was more irritable, I would say. Estavo, what other drugs was Mr. Combs addicted to? The government attorney, objection, no foundation. Judge says, I'll ask if I want the grounds. Shut up, USA attorney. The judge sustained, rephrase. I guess they went to sidebar. Estavo, what was his drug of choice? Ventura, ecstasy, MDMA, opiates daily. Opiates daily is what Estavo says. Cassie says, when he was doing them, Estavo, you saw him withdraw. Cassie, yes. Judge will break. They go ahead and let the jurors leave. So I think I'm going to be done with that. So I'm surprised. I don't know who Estavo is. This is not a name that I've seen on the filings a lot, but I'm not sure why they let her ask the questions because this is the prosecution's star witness. And what I feel like we have here is an inexperienced attorney asking questions that are wasting time, in my opinion. Get to the point. you're letting Cassie challenge you on these questions, on questions that should not have been a challenge. That should have been asked to strike. Non-responsive. What do you mean? I'm asking you what was the question? Asked her if she doesn't remember a lot because she's on drugs, essentially, is what she was insinuating. Do you not remember a lot? And she goes, well, my privacy was violated multiple times in the relationship. That is not responsive to what I just asked you. Yes or no? Did you remember? You don't remember a lot in general, right? Because you was always on drugs, not to, put Cassie down while she's down, right? Not to kick her while she's down. But she should have got into that. If you are defending your client, attack her credibility. That would have been the perfect time to attack her credibility and say that her answers are non-responsive. She's being invasive. You don't want her to look like the good guy on the stand if you're trying to win for your client, okay? I guess the government attorney did object. He's just saying objection, not telling us the basis, but he's objecting. So we'll give him that. I don't even know if Johnson is a lady or a man, but the way they put an objection with the exclamation point, I just assume it's a man. But again, this is just what this guy is writing. Okay, they have concern with whether they're going to be able to finish by tomorrow. Like I said, they're going to pretty much rush Cassie's testimony. I'm going to stop right there with the trial because it is hard with me reading both sides of the situation. But here we are. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I think they could have picked someone else to question. I think they could have picked someone else to question Cassie because I don't like how Estavo is doing this. I could just be judgy, but that's where I am. I'm going to go back to me freaking out over the spider and then we'll jump into the comments. So if y'all got something to say, let me know what y'all thoughts are so far. I think they should have picked somebody else to do the questioning for Cassie on the cross-examination. I didn't really read the cross-examination that deeply today before coming on the stream. So some of that stuff was live that stuff was live reaction for me, honestly, because I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? We got Blessed Mommy at 4. Welcome in, saying good evening, all late but playing catch up times 2. We're happy to have you in. We got Destiny B saying hey to Blessed Mommy. Kimmy Locker saying, dang it, Elon, as far as it's me. I forgot my password. It's me. I'm the problem. Destiny B says, Kimmy. Destiny B says, I don't blame you. I'm scared too for you. Yeah, I don't know where he's at. It was big, y'all. Like, it was like this. I freaked out because I saw a spider. That's what happened. Tierra opened the eye. I know I'm too grown. I am too grown, but it happens. Okay. Doesn't be said. She saw a big spider to Chris. Oh yeah. Y'all dropping spiders in the chat is wild. Okay. Kimmy Lockett says, I take personal offense to creepy crawlies. I'm so much bigger than you. Leave me alone. And it's like, they just make my skin crawl. I don't know what it is, but that freaked me out for sure. Because Mola says, what's worse than finding a spider in your room? What is worse than that? Please. Now I'm like, this is my office, so hopefully they're just in here and not in my room. Now I'm not gonna be able to sleep, y'all. They call me Desi. Says, is this a Diddy combo or is the Diddy combo over? No, I had a brief intermission. Had a brief intermission of being attacked by a spider. Okay, not finding it. Oh yeah, I don't know where it is. I have no idea. I think it's just like behind. There's like a panel because it wasn't on the shoe that I used. I'm sorry for anyone that is against spider cruelty, but I probably for sure spider cruelty. I feel like my skin is crawling just even talking about this at this point. Let's go on. Kimmy says my best friend has 2 pet spiders. She's a different breed. It's wild because what if it gets out? It's kind of creepy. I would step on your friend's spider. Call me Desi says Cassie was groomed from the jump. I agree. She was very young. Diddy definitely, in my opinion, took advantage of her. Destiny B says she was to Desi. Chris Mullen says I would have sprayed my entire room with flavor. I don't know how I'm sitting here. Like my shirt is moving. It touched me. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's on my back. It's been crawling on my body the entire time. So They Call Me Desi says, any 21-year-old signing a 10-album deal is crazy. They did this a lot to people, though, back then. They did this to a lot, especially to the younger artists, because they don't know what they're doing. They're just signing their life away, essentially. Kimmy Locker says, They Call Me Desi, a 10-album deal is crazy at any age, but 21-year-olds are babies. Yes, and she only got one album out, which is crazy. Definitely took advantage. Where did my little chat go? Okay. Destin to Be says, I listened to someone read the full transcript and it seems she was his girlfriend, but he wasn't her boyfriend. Shaking my head. Yeah, that's what it seems like. And that's what happens when you have an old man dating a young girl. Okay, she's just trying to come up in her career. And she sees this older guy with the money, and I think she got tricked. You watch someone read the whole transcript? I don't know if I can sit through that. Who's reading the full transcript? And do they have someone helping out? That's crazy. I don't think I can do that, y'all. I'm sorry. That was hard enough for me. Kimmy Locker says, that's a great way to put it to Destiny B. Yeah, it sounds like it is. She's in a relationship, but he's not. Destiny B says, yeah, reading 5,000 texts is crazy. I hope that's not how many she read, but it seems like that way by what I just read, which was maybe 30 minutes of it? Yeah, insane. Destiny B says, I don't know, but it felt like it. It does seem like 5,000. Destiny B says, Bree, did you see the 106 in Park performance? I know, we talked about that a little bit earlier. No, I don't think I have. Destiny B says, thanks everyone for hitting the like button. Yes, of course. Thank you for that reminder. Everyone that hit the like button, definitely appreciate it. Destiny B says, I heard they were trying to get Don Hughes, the therapist for Amber Heard, to testify. I don't remember her testimony, but anybody that worked for Amber Heard, I'm like, let's keep them away. Let's keep them away, okay? They Call Me Desi says, do y'all think Aubrey O'Day testifying? I'm curious who they are calling since it's supposed to be 6 to 8 weeks. I don't know. I would think more Don Richard would testify than Aubrey O'Day, but she might. I don't know. Maybe. Destiny B says, I don't think Desi, but she has always been pretty vocal. Yeah, I don't know if she would come into play for these particular witnesses. Destiny B says the judge doesn't want the reason for the objection. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Thank you. Some don't. They can kind of figure it out. They know exactly what you're going to say because they're basically objection in their own head too. They Call Me Desi says, I hope they let her testify. She's been waiting for this moment for Aubrey O'Day. Destiny B says she sure has ready to spill it all. Okay. Chris Mullen says, oh, they may have wanted a female attorney to cross-examine her. Well, she's not coming off pretty good, but I get that point. They probably do want someone a little bit softer. She just doesn't feel prepared to me, okay? She's just like, I'm going to read these text messages. I'm going to get all 5,000 text messages out there. Like Tony said, the 5,000 text messages. Ma'am, you only got 2 days. Speed it up, or a day and a half, actually. Speed it up. They Call Me Desi says, I think Cassie is strong AF to do it this 8 months pregnant. That's what I'm like. How did we end up here? Like, why is she 8 months pregnant? I definitely understand that Diddy has a right to a speedy trial, but y'all couldn't figure this out a different day. And not only that, with them reading every single text message, it felt like, I know they didn't read every single text message, but it felt like they were trying to read every single text message. I feel like it was low-key him still trying to torture her. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Don't come after me, Diddy Warriors, okay? They Call Me Desi says, I think the same to Chris Mullen, but wasn't a good move with her questions of tone. No. And I think like she was all over the place. Like she'll ask a question, she'll go away from it, and then she'll go back to it. And it's just all confusing. It's all confusing, okay? Destiny B says to Chris Mullen, Nicole Westmoreland from YSL trial and Tinny, spelling correct questions. Garagos is on the defense team. Not sure how they picked that attorney to cross. I don't know. Like they said, maybe because it's a woman. That's the only thing I can really go on. But I think there's another woman on there too. I haven't even seen the Asavo name. So until just now when I read that. Excuse me. And I'm talking about like on the paper filings. Chris Mullen says, To Desi, yes, it does not sound good. Chris Mullen says to Tanya or Destiny B. So you mean the female attorney that kept getting into trouble with the judge in the YSL trial? I didn't watch the YSL trial, so I don't really know who you guys are talking about. Chris says, or am I thinking of the Young Thug trial? I think the YSL trial is the Young Thug trial. I think that's the same thing because Young Slime, whatever, and that was his racketeering, and then Young Thug was in it. Destined to be said she's actually still reading. Pam Esquire, the law intellect, is reading them. She's pretty animated. I'm gonna have to go and look at this because why are we? You definitely need a second person to read that with you because that is insane. Chris Mullen says this is wild. Destin DeB says, oh my gosh, Chris Mullen. Actually, she was the one who asked for the mistrial that ended the trial. LOL. We doing something good. Doing something good. Call me Desi says, I'm gonna check out Pam. I'm gonna have to go look this up now too. She's probably growing her channel doing this. That's crazy. That's insane to do. I couldn't even do a little Twitter thread, man. Chris Mullen says to Destiny B, I get so muddled up with all these trials. Yeah. They all do kind of start to mix together, especially when you're living your regular life too, y'all. Y'all let me know your opinions on these things. I am trying to keep up with it as much as I can with regular life, y'all. So sorry that I haven't been too involved in this case and I'm not able to read the transcript word for word. I would be so tired. I read all day, y'all, and I have court in the morning at 8:30, so I can't be on here too late. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm trying to come up with a schedule because I know I do need to be more consistent on YouTube as far as because I've been stuck at the same place on my channel because I kind of do this part-time, or I do only do this very, very part-time. So I'm trying to think of different things that I can do to be a little bit more consistent on the channel. I am planning on continuing to cover this. I probably won't live stream tomorrow because date night and things of that nature. And next week, I'll try to get a little bit more information out on the trial. I cannot commit to reading the transcripts word for word. I cannot commit to doing that, but I will try to keep a little bit more update. It's a harder trial to cover because it is not live streamed. So it is a lot of reading and making sure that I'm even familiar with what is going on. Y'all seen how shocked I was on pulling the article that I hadn't read earlier in the day. So with that being said, I think that's all we're going to do for the stream today. I will let y'all know when the next stream is going to be. But like I said, I'm going to try to stream multiple times next week. I got some training and stuff next week, but I'm still going to try to get on here multiple times next week so that we are all caught up and we're not having to go back 3 days or whatever to cover the trial. But 6 to 8 weeks, this is going to be a long time coming. Overall, so far, 4 days to the trial, I think they are a little rocky on laying the foundation. But like Tanya D or like Destiny B said earlier in the live stream, it is just day 4. So they do have to kind of lay that foundation. Who was there? Who was involved in this enterprise? I think another thing that's going to hurt them in trying to establish the enterprise is that Diddy is the only one being charged. No one else in this alleged enterprise is being charged. Normally, when you see these racketeering, you're going to see multiple people that have already been arrested. Even if they're not on trial together, they at least have already been arrested. So I think that's going to show the jury that maybe the prosecution is not so confident in the fact that they are able to succeed on the racketeering. That's my concern about it. And also, like I said, the fact that there are 8 men, sorry men, if there's any men that watch the channel, the fact that there are 8 men on the jury makes me believe that they're not going to be able to get a unanimous because we know there are, if you pull 10 men, at least 4 of them, in my opinion, I don't know the stats, at least 4 of them are going to blame the women. What were you wearing? Why didn't you leave? All of the things. We've seen the think pieces. If you have been on social media, you've probably seen the think pieces of, well, why didn't she leave? She wanted it, blah, blah, blah. I made a video on TikTok about DNA test. And if you could see what people came up with, like I didn't even say what they were commenting in the video and they just went off on a tangent. I also made another video about DDG or Halle Bailey getting a restraining order against DDG. And so one of the first comments I got is, y'all really hate black men. And I was like, what do black men have to do with DDG beating Halle up? Like, are you saying all men do it? Or well, you guys just want to see a black man fall? I was like, no, I want to see people that beat people up fall. I don't care if he was an elephant, okay? Or the spider that was just in my room, okay? I don't care who he is. But if you're doing something wrong, I am going to make my commentary about the actual legal documents. So just seeing that happen to me simply on being on live streams, being on social media, and the comments that some men come up with, which my channel is geared more towards women. We have some men watchers. I don't really know many of them. I know we have a couple, but my channel is geared more towards women. And I understand why, because if you get the men in your comments, you're going to get blamed for some things you didn't say. So, I find it hard to believe, or I'm not confident that there's going to be unanimous votes against Diddy on all of these sex crimes. Maybe the prostitution, because I mean, you can't really get around that one. Diddy is saying, "What? I paid them for an experience." Yeah, prostitution experience. Oh man, a prostitution experience. But I think he'll get on the prostitution. I'm not that confident on the sex trafficking at this point. Maybe more information will come out. But at this point, I think Diddy's team, although it be not the best line of questioning, I think they're dashing in that reasonable doubt. So let me see. Kami Data says, please do more, but I understand you're busy. Thank you. No, it's hard. Like, you think content is super easy to get together and put together. It is really hard to think about like what your topic is going to be and everything. It's hard, but I am trying to get more information out there. That's going to be say, have a good night to everyone. Yes, of course. Kimmy Walker says, yeah, I expected a lot more names to have dropped by now, and they haven't. They really haven't. And I think maybe it'll come up more when they're starting to be called as witnesses. But I honestly feel like they're going to try to keep as many celebrities off the stand as possible. Destiny B says, me too, to Kimmy, as far as dropping more names. Destiny B says, I'll go watch your TikTok because I haven't heard the full story on DDG and Halle. I only made a 1-minute video, so I don't have a lot of information out on it. I wanted to also pull that restraining order because I'm very familiar with those documents because I'm in California and I do restraining orders. But I wanted to pull that document and I just haven't been able to get around with it because I don't know what it is, but commuting makes me tired. I don't know what it is. But yeah, it is on TikTok. I am going to post it on YouTube too. So I have 2 different TikToks, so I don't know if you follow the newer one that I started. Kimmy Locker says, same to Destined to Be as far as checking out the video. I am going to post it on YouTube. I should do that tonight, actually. And I have another Diddy opinion short to post too. So anyways, y'all, thank you for joining me on the live stream. I'll let you know when I'll be live streaming next time. It'll probably be about the Diddy trial, and we'll go from there. So I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. I will see y'all all on the next live stream. Bye.